Having an overall consistent brand and differentiating yourself is really important, because even when I talk with businesses that are finding it hard to attract staff, the ones that don't have a problem with that are the ones that have a good reputation already. So the same goes with customers. We all like shortcuts. We're all very lazy. We don't want to think about things too much. And if you have a lot of choices, the one that you recognize most is going to be the one that you go for.
You're listening to the Keep Optimizing podcast to increase your traffic, improve your conversion rates, and grow your profits.
Hello and welcome. I'm Chloe Thomas, the host of this e-commerce marketing focused podcast. If you're not familiar with our format, we release 5-episode mini-series that dive deep into one e-commerce marketing topic at a time. It could be channels like email or SEO or Facebook's, or a big topic like conversion rates, acquisition, retention, or analytics. In each episode, new ones on Wednesdays, I get to interview a different expert to explore the latest advice on making it work for you. And then after each 5-episode mini-series, we take a week off, giving you time to take action on what you've learned. Now, for the first time since 2020, we are doing a series completely about improving your conversion rates. Not just A/B testing, we're looking at the whole range of things you can do to improve conversion rates. So an eclectic mix of episodes is coming up for you, but all of them will help you improve your conversion rates and thus improve the performance of all of your marketing, which, who doesn't want that? One thing that improves everything? Hell yeah, I'll take it. In this episode, we're kicking off with trust gaps. We all know that the customer has to trust you to buy from you. We all know that the more the customer trusts you, the faster they'll buy and the more likely they are to buy. So how do we improve that by removing the trust gaps from our customers' experience? That's what we're talking about in this episode. Lots on copywriting, understanding your customers better, social proof, and a whole heap of other stuff you won't have anticipated. So do make sure you listen right to the end of the episode, because my guest is dropping some excellent book recommendations and other things in the Insider Tips round. Have you downloaded our ebook yet? To celebrate reaching episode 300, we created an epic e-commerce success-focused ebook packed with 118 top tips for e-commerce growth, featuring the advice of many, many past guests alongside industry experts and many from you, our listeners, as well. It's definitely one to dip in and out of and take inspiration from as and when you need it. This ebook needs to be sat on your desktop or even printed and sat on your desk. Download your free copy right now at keepopt.com/growth ebook.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
In this episode, I'm chatting with conversion rates expert Rebecca Boyle. Rebecca is a brand strategist and fractional CMO at Lissah Boyle. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. Awesome to have you on the show. How did you get into the world of conversion rates and conversion rate optimization?
Oh, well, I did a degree many years ago in journalism, and I was into that for a while. And then I found copywriting. I can't even remember how I came across it, but I did. And I just thought it was so interesting because it combined a bit of creativity and journalism, and it also brought in psychology as well. And I really loved, and I still love doing web copy. It's one of the things that I do most and enjoy doing. And I just find it so interesting that small tweaks of language, and how things look on a website can really impact the actions people take.
It is quite mad how you think copywriting, oh, they're just writing some copy. Oh no, there's so many different skill sets and angles and specialisms that copywriters have, aren't there?
Yeah, and I think people, there's a difference between content writing and copywriting is trying to get someone to take an action instead of just entertaining them or informing them. And it is all those psychological techniques that really you have to know about to add into your writing.
Awesome. Well, look, let's get into that now with our topic that is trust gap. So you suggested the topic. It's a brilliant topic. How do you define a trust gap?
Yeah, so basically it's if a customer or potential customer doesn't trust you enough to buy from you or take whatever action you want them to do. There's something there that's missing in what you're relaying to them and the message that they're getting, they're perceiving. And that's creating an issue, obviously, from them buying from you. It's stopping them from doing that.
Got you. And I guess that's our endless challenge within e-commerce, but obviously there's an awful lot we can do with the actual copy we're putting in front of people to solve this.
Yeah, exactly. There's loads of different things you can do, but it is so important, especially in e-commerce when there's lots of products that are very similar. It's why they should buy from you instead of buying a very similar or the exact same product elsewhere.
So where do we worry about these trust gaps in our content? Because I think it's really easy to think conversion rates, checkout, right bottom of the funnel stuff. But from what you're saying, I'm guessing this could be at any point in the journey to purchase.
Yeah, everything pretty much. It's how you're coming across generally as a brand. So it could be in social media, it could be any sort of marketing channel, it could be your homepage and throughout the whole web page to your website to your product pages and on through to the bottom of the funnel stuff like the checkout. There's all things along that funnel that you can be doing to build that trust and making people want to purchase from you. Obviously, if you add all those things, you don't need to throw everything in. But if you add little things along the way there at all those different stages, then it can really help.
And when we talk copy, are we purely talking text, or does this go into text on image and video scripts and that sort of thing as well?
Yeah, it's all of that as well. And it can be stats, so it could be how many people you've sold to or, all that kind of thing. It could be logos of previous clients, and it can be all that sort of thing as well. As you said, video and graphics, anything, like that can quickly show people, especially on e-commerce sites, things like graphics with maybe the guarantee or something or testimonials are very visual and help get across what you want to say because people on websites will skim read. And so even just by the look of having the testimonial, having that setup of the speech bubble or whatever, people instantly know, oh, that's a testimonial. And if you've got loads of those, people don't need to necessarily read them, but they can see that you've got them.
So UGC is part of this, but it's not the be-all, end-all of this. Because I think quite often we think trust and we think, oh, we'll slap some UGC on it and we're done. But it's not quite that simple, is it?
No, I mean, that definitely helps because most people, I think it's like 80% or something, look at reviews first, especially products, that they will look at those first and see what other people say because coming from someone else, it's more trustworthy than coming from you. If you say, I'm a brilliant person, people think, well, I don't know about that. I'll take that with a pinch of salt. But if someone else says it about you, obviously it's more likely to be believed.
So what for you is the biggest area to tackle if you want to improve the trust gap on your website, improve those conversion rates? What's the biggest copywriting hack, I suppose, which that just awfully downgrades it, doesn't it? What's the big, shouldn't you ban the word hack, Chloe? What's the biggest lever we can pull to improve our conversion rates here?
Yeah, well, a lot of my work is around branding in general. So like all the big companies, Coca-Cola, Virgin, all those ones, they have a brand personality. And that goes a long way in being able to charge premium prices and being able to people to just buy from them without thinking too much about it. So having an overall consistent brand and differentiating yourself is really important, because even when I talk with businesses that are finding it hard to attract staff, the ones that don't have a problem with that are the ones that have a good reputation already. So the same goes with customers. We all like shortcuts. We're all very lazy. We don't want to think about things too much. And if you have a lot of choices, the one that you recognize most is going to be the one that you go for. So having, being different and having that personality and having something different. It doesn't have to be extraordinary. What makes you unique doesn't have to be amazing. It could simply be that you offer the best customer service, or you offer something on top of, your product, or an additional service. It could be a very small thing, but it could make all the difference and it could set you apart. And
then you have the first challenge is identifying what that is, but then the second challenge is weaving it in throughout the whole journey, which I think is where, I'm thinking if your founder is your differentiator, Bob says all the time can get quite repetitive and dull. So how do you, if you've got a lot of SKUs, how do you make this interesting at every level of the journey?
Yeah, so what I do is have like a framework. So say it's about 10 points of how the company speaks. So it's like little checklists, but if you're writing your copy, you can go through and say, okay, have we said it this way? Maybe have we put some humor in it? Have we done this, that, and the other? And so if you have like a framework like that, it can be consistent so that anybody within the organization, whether it's your salespeople or your marketing people or the founder, anyone can speak in the same voice. And it's about adding that personality and those things that are unique about what you're saying into all the different copies. So anytime you write anything at all, even if it's an email, look at it and say, is this the way we would say it? Or is this just another boring email that no one's really going to, care about? Is it like every other email?
I'm fascinated by the idea of this 10-point checklist. Obviously, you mentioned that level of humour is a good thing to include there. What other sorts of things could it be? Could it be it's always by the founder, or it's always exact, correct, proper English, or?
Yeah, so it could be that. So if you're a very formal, say like universities and stuff, they would have quite formal language. And so it could be making sure the different grammar, like you're always using Oxford grammars and all this here that are very traditional. Maybe you want to be more conversational, more laid back, that type of brand. And so you want to make sure that you're maybe using slang or colloquialisms or things like that within your writing. You're maybe, one of the things on the list is sometimes, is this the way you would say it to a friend? If you're sitting at a bar or something with them, or a cafe with them, is that how you'd explain this to, this product to them? If it's not, maybe you need to rethink that. So it's things like that. And it can be in the founder's voice. That can have problems because if the founder leaves or, whatever. And sometimes you don't always want it in the founder voice. For example, my brand, Professional Me, is quite different from me as just general. a bit more polite, a bit more, I don't do certain things. I don't swear in my copy or anything like that, whereas I would in normal life. It wouldn't bother me, but I wouldn't in a professional setting. And so you obviously want to get that balance between the founder's actual voice and what's good branding as well.
Got you. And would the checklist go as nitty gritty as, for example, here at my business, we always write eCommerce with a small e and a big C and no dash. Is it as nitty gritty? Obviously not 10 points that are all how to spell a word, but would that be the sort of thing you'd include?
It wouldn't be in the tone of voice guide. So the tone of voice guide is try and keep it as concise as possible. So 10 would be the maximum number of points I would have for that. In the style guide would be that kind of information, like what kind of language you use, if you're in different locations. So if your parent company's in Spain, but you've a UK, office or whatever, it's about what words you would use in the UK, but maybe not in Europe. So it's different things like that, and grammar, and the type of emojis you'd use, if you would use those, so it's all those different things on, the nitty gritty of it.
Got you. So style and tone of voice, consider them separately, but bring them together.
Yeah, if possible, yeah.
To create this kind of style differentiation.
Yeah.
Anything else on how we differentiate to make sure people go ahead and buy us, not someone else?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of problems I see when I say to people, what's your USP? What's the unique thing about you? And people would say things like, oh, we're a family business, or we're the only ones in the UK, or something like that. And those things, anything that can be copied like that isn't a unique selling point. It's something that can't be copied. So you may be the only family business to do a certain, product or have a certain business, but that's only for now. Someone else could come along and then your USP is gone. You could still be the leader in that market, but it won't be a USP. So basically anything that can be copied is not a USP. You want something that's unique to you, that someone will not get anywhere else. And it could simply be, for example, my business is dealing with me and me as a person, and vibing with me and liking me as a person, and having that personalized approach. So if people don't like me, they're not going to like my business, So it could be that, and as long as you have thick skin, that's fine, which I do. So that's fine. If people don't like me, that you don't have to work with me. But, it needs to be something that's unique to your business.
Do you find that, because I certainly have found this over time, is it's a lot easier to put a USP on a service-based business than it is a product-based business? Yeah.
It can certainly be easier. A lot of service businesses are about the people and things within it that make it. A product-based, especially, if it's maybe more affordable products, that can be got lots of different places, then yes, it certainly is more, it can be more difficult to find out what it is, but it could simply be the use of humour in your copy, that you're a bit tongue in cheek with things. Like if you know of any of Virgin's ads, they're a bit cheeky and they're a bit, or Wendy's over in America, they're a bit, on social media, they make fun of themselves and other people and even their customers and things. So it could be something very slight, even like that type of personality in your copy that could make you different.
It's more about differentiation than getting completely hung up on trying to find the perfect USP.
Yeah, pretty much, because, and as I said, people think the USP has to be something extraordinary. It doesn't have to be. It can be a very small thing, but it's just something that your business does differently.
Nice. And are there any other, obviously the differentiation is going to be a really big part of improving the results, but any other key elements that are worth bringing into the mix as we're reviewing our copy?
Yeah, so there's the proof gap, which I often see is a problem in copy. So, for example, if you've got testimonials or guarantees or something, there's usually a problem with being vague. So for testimonials, it could be, this was a really great product, I love this, and that's it. And you're like, well, that's not really helpful to anybody, to be honest. So, and although sometimes there's nothing you can do about that, but you can sometimes guide people. Like I would give for service-based businesses, it's easier to do this, but it would be, a template of how I helped you, what the result was, what problem you were having, how we dealt with that and what the result was. So you can get them to break it down and be more specific. And so you can possibly do that if you're asking for written reviews for e-commerce sites too, ask them, could they, say what problem they had, how it helped them, what they liked about it, and be a bit more specific about it so that people can really get an understanding of what's good about the product and why they should buy it. And that specificity, if I can even say it, is also a problem with things like guarantees. So, money back guarantee or something, that's okay, but, how many people have maybe availed of that money back guarantee? If a lot of people have maybe used that, you're like, okay, well, maybe, this product isn't great, and that guarantee really doesn't mean very much. So it's about being as specific as possible. And if you have anything like that, looking at it and saying, okay, how can I make this even more specific? How can I really hone in on this and make it, that people really believe what I'm saying here and are confident in buying it because they do think the guarantee is worthwhile or the testimonials are helpful. And it's just about being with those things that are making the trust factors that are building that up, being as specific as possible.
And is it, tell me if this is way off base, but with the guarantee, I would assume that's having a really obvious link in the footer that goes to a page that explains the detail of the guarantee. This is what the guarantee really is. This is how you claim it. This is how we process it. Just to create that, in your ears, but money back guarantee. And then the customer can go and actually find out the nitty gritty of it should they want to.
Exactly. And you should have a link that details that, because a lot of people that will be okay. And if you have a nice little visual, it's quick to skim and see, and you're like, okay, well, if they have that, it must be, okay, because they don't want to be giving their money back to everybody. So it must be, there's some sort of truth in that. But yeah, you definitely should have more details elsewhere, and it doesn't have to be on that page, as long as you tell them maybe somewhere else to go. You don't have to put absolutely everything on the one page.
Excellent. And then anything else? I think relevancy was one of the things you were talking to me about earlier. How do we be more relevant?
Yeah, so a lot of products, they can give, the technical specifications, it's this measurement or it does this and whatever. Some don't do that. I've come across a lot of descriptions that don't really do that either. So you do want to get those basics right first. And the technical details, sometimes they can put people off because it's like, I'm not quite sure what that means. But sometimes, depending on the product, those are quite good because it shows you know what you're talking about. And you're like, well, this person must know about this and because they're given this level of detail. So that depends on what you're selling. But the relevancy gap is also about what connects them to your product. If you bring some sort of emotion into it, about the benefit or the transformation that product will bring, or what problem that is solving for them, a lot of the time we buy things, especially now when, the economy is not great. People are watching what they're spending a bit more. If someone has a problem and if it's something they really want dealt with now, if you really hone in on that and talk about that in the copy and about how this product helps, then, you've done a lot of the work there. And simply by, stating what it does, maybe wouldn't get that across. And sometimes because it's our products and maybe we know them really well, we don't always realize that it's not maybe obvious to other people.
I suppose it's like selling a fitted bed sheet, and you give the dimensions in millimeters, but you don't say double,
yes,
or single,
exactly.
or king size, or whatever it might be. It's that actually thinking through the details from the eyes of the customer rather than yourself.
Exactly. And that's why it's really good. I always go on about, understand your customer and doing so much research on your customer before you do anything, write any copy, because the more you know that person and even their hobbies and stuff, you can bring that in, and put that in the copy. Maybe you could say, when you're sitting there watching, Desperate Housewives, you can be using this product, or, you can add little things like that in that shows the person that, you get them and that they'll be using this when they're sitting watching that program or something, so it's little things like that.
Any favourite ways of researching the customer? I suppose everyone, the reason I ask is because everyone who does jobs similar to yours has a favourite way of finding out the voice of the customer. So what's your preferred way to find that data?
To be honest, I don't know if I have a preferred way. I like using multiple ways because you want as much information as possible. So when I'm looking at customers, I will look at previous customers, and it has to be an ideal customer. So if you don't want that type of customer anymore, then you don't want to use them. But it's people that have been past customers, and you want to maybe do interviews with them, get as much information about them as possible. I use forums like Reddit and things, or specialist ones. For example, if I'm doing logistics companies, it'll be maybe supply chain forums and things. They're quite good because they're people asking questions and having normal conversations as well about the different problems and stuff they're having. So forums are really good. There's also social media, and there's also there'll be academic research or business research. If there's maybe research on SMEs, small to medium sized enterprises within Northern Ireland or the UK, it might give you, say, the top problems they're facing at the minute with the stats and percentages on them and things like that, because that's evidence based, obviously. So that can be really helpful as well. So I really like having a mix of all those different things to really back up what you're saying, and obviously getting out there and speaking to as many customers as possible.
Love that. Real depth in that answer. Thank you very much, Rebecca. One last question on this for you before we head towards the insider tips, which is, we have a lot of copy in all its shapes and forms in our businesses. If we're going to start on this journey, to redo all the copy overnight is unachievable. Where do we start? Do we start with product descriptions and the product landing pages and then work our way back out through the customer journey? Or do we start top of funnel and then race the customer to the checkout?
Yeah, I would say do your research first, get to know your customers. When you've got all that done, I would say start from the homepage and work out the way, because your homepage is the main thing that people are going to see, usually. It can be other pages, about pages and things. So you obviously want to check your own stats on that. But yeah, I would say once you get clear on that main section of, what makes us different, why people should buy from us, then it'll make everything else a lot easier, because you can just carry that on throughout your copy then.
Nice. I like that. Go to the stats. Start on the big pages and then make the impact. I mean, it's so obvious. I don't know why I bothered answering the question.
I know, but it's so small things, and I see it so much, even in bigger, companies where the basics aren't done, or you forget about them, or maybe they're not updated and things. And it is just because sometimes I feel bad telling people, have you looked at the stats and things like that? But a lot of the time they haven't. And I mean, I've done it myself for my own website where, when you think, oh, I didn't check that. So it's those basic things that once they're in place, the foundations are there, it'll make everything a lot easier. And it is just sometimes remembering to do that.
Oh, so true. I have a shiver going down my spine of the state of our home pages, but we're going to ignore that for now. Rebecca, it's been brilliant picking your brains about trust gaps and conversion rates. Listeners, remember to stay tuned right to the end so you don't miss out on Rebecca's insider tips on all of this and my suggestions for other ways we can help you. Have you downloaded our ebook yet? To celebrate reaching episode 300, we created an epic e-commerce success-focused ebook packed with 118 top tips for e-commerce growth, featuring the advice of many, many past guests alongside industry experts and many from you, our listeners, as well. It's definitely one to dip in and out of and take inspiration from as and when you need it. This ebook needs to be sat on your desktop or even printed and sat on your desk. Download your free copy right now at keepopt.com/growth ebook.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Okay, Rebecca, so far we've gone deep into trust gaps. Now you get to wow us with your insider knowledge about the whole of conversion rates. So for the following questions, your answer can be anything to do with conversion rates, which of course includes everything we've already been talking about. Rebecca, are you ready for the insider tips?
Yes, I think so.
Marvellous. Then let's start with newbie advice. If we've inspired someone to take their first step, what do they need to know to give themselves the best chance of success?
Yeah, so I think what we talked about earlier is how you're different and make it as specific as possible, because once you get that right, other things will be easier and you don't have to do everything at once. Like you said, you've a whole website, maybe you've loads of products and, it's like, oh, where do I start? And you've maybe social media and lots of different things that you're having to juggle as well. And it's about starting small. And once you get that basic done of how I'm different, that'll inform everything else.
Nice. Once you've started, of course, you've got to keep optimizing. So what's your favourite way to improve performance?
Yeah, so I say to everyone, do little and often. So again, marketing can be very overwhelming and copy, writing copy and everything takes a lot of time. So do small things, even if it's one thing a day, even if it's half a page a day, as long as you get one small thing done and consistently do that, then you will get the results eventually.
Nice. And if someone listening wants to learn more, is there one cheap or free resource you would recommend?
So there's a couple of books, obviously. As a writer, books are my favourite. Podcasts and everything are great, but there's books on my bookshelf that I would recommend to anybody. And that is Influence by Robert B. Cialdini, I think his second name is. And it's based on research and it gives practical tips on why people buy and how you can incorporate that and those kind of psychological tips we're talking about into your copy and your marketing.
Oh, a mind-blowing book. I'm not sure you can call yourself a marketer if you haven't read that book.
Exactly. And a second one also, because I've two absolute favourites that I recommend to anybody, is the Adweek Copywriting Handbook by Joseph Sugarman. Again, another staple. It's very practical advice again, and it's about how to write copy, and especially for e-commerce, it's about how to keep what you're saying but concise, without losing any of that, what you want to say. So it's really good. And I like both those books because they're both very practical.
Oh, I love a practical book.
Yeah.
Finally, it's crystal ball time. What's coming up in the next 6 to 12 months that we should be getting ready for?
Yeah, so I've been saying to people for a while now that with AI and everything, it's being more human, because we were so used with everything being digital now and having so many different social media channels and everything. But it's about being human now because people are cynical. And it's going back to those trust factors again. People aren't really believing who you are. And, there's a lot more scams and things now. So it really is about being a human, speaking to people like they're another human being, not just, a faceless person that's buying your product. Even if you imagine speaking to a particular person, that can really help. And it's just being more personable and being different. You're not just a company, you're a human being.
I think that's so spot on. I mean, we've already seen it coming through with the SEO side of things. There's clearly power in being a human still. Before we get down that rabbit hole, Rebecca, could you please let the listeners know where they can find out more about you and your business and get in touch?
Yes, so you can find me on LinkedIn. It's my main social media channel, and it's Rebecca Boyle. And our website, so it's www.lissah, which is LISSAH, lissahandboyle.co.uk.
There we go, everybody. And Rebecca, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been an awesome way to kick off our discussions about conversion rates. So thank you so much for being here.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
What a brilliant start to our series of episodes on conversion rate optimization, really getting to the heart of how you differentiate to make sure that customer remembers you and comes back and buys from you. Loads of cool bits and pieces there from Rebecca. great advice on how to research and understand your customers so you can create the content better. We talked a lot about differentiation, about those checklists for tone of voice and for style. Treat them as two separate things. And of course, UGC and some great book recommendations too. You can get the links to all those things we discussed, the full transcript, our notes and more at keepoptimizing.com. You can also use our special direct episode short links. Just put keepopt.com/the number of the episode into the URL bar and you'll go straight to the correct page of the website, which now we're on over 300 episodes. There's quite a lot there to find your way through. When you get to the website, please also add yourself to the Chloe Thomas newsletter so you don't miss out on any of the stuff we share by email either. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Keep Optimizing podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to continue learning about conversion rates right now, then pick up our thread by scrolling up your feed to episodes, wait for it, 10 to 13, yes, number 10, number 11, number 12 and number 13, because that was the last time we dedicated a whole series to conversion rates. Way back at the very beginning of this show in 2020. Of course, we've covered lots of different aspects of it over time since then, here and there in other masterclasses. So you can find our full thread of all of that in the short link, keepopt.com/CRO. And please do tell your fellow marketers about the show because I want this to help them as well as to help you. And then I've got an individual episode recommendation for you. We've had a great episode not very long ago about trust building conversions and experts and how you can use experts to help build all of that too. It's episode 253 with Eric Sheenkop. A fascinating guy, really cool example of how you can improve conversion rates with all this good stuff. Have a great week. Make sure you listen to the next episode so we can help you to keep optimizing your marketing.
Access everything Keep Optimizing at keepoptimizing.com. That's with an S, not a Z.
Have you downloaded our ebook yet? To celebrate reaching episode 300, we created an epic e-commerce success-focused ebook packed with 118 top tips for e-commerce growth, featuring the advice of many, many past guests alongside industry experts and many from you, our listeners, as well. It's definitely one to dip in and out of and take inspiration from as and when you need it. This ebook needs to be sat on your desktop or even printed and sat on your desk. Download your free copy right now at keepopt.com/growth ebook.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.